Welcome to a tutorial on Pomodoro. This tool takes the output of an OCR process and allows you to manually select what pieces of that document you'd like to download as plain text. So let's take a look at this and it will make more sense. So we're going to use an example file here, and this is a file of an independent movie theater schedule. And so all of this red blocks here, these are the detected text in the document. And as you can see, that this particular document has a structure where there's columns of text. And so what Pomodoro allows you to do is select which pieces of this document or which red blocks you'd like to extract and download as plain text. You can adjust the opacity of that red text with this slider here, and you can see through it to see some of the text here. So say we wanted to start downloading some of these movie descriptions and their associated metadata as plain text. If you ran this through a normal OCR process, it might just kind of mush all these columns together. With Pomodoro, you can specifically organize how you want these text blocks to appear in your plain text document. So here I'm kind of going through and downloading each section, or selecting each piece that I want and then hitting the enter key, and then that will add it to the text area to the right. And you can go in through and clean this up if you want, and then when you're ready to download it, you just simply hit download and it will download as a text file. If you want to upload an additional file, say for example I have another image I wanted to upload of this project, and you upload another one, it will go through the same process, but it will retain what you have added there previously until you download the file, and it will download as a text file. So if I downloaded this text file and I opened it up in a editor, I would see this description of the text we just downloaded. So that's the kind of the basic mode of working with Pomodoro, is you end up with a text file. If you wanted to do this in a more structural way, you can manually organize this data not just into a text file, but into a specific schema as a JSON schema. So in the second mode here, there's two modes. At the top right corner, you can select JSON mode. And in JSON mode, it allows you to define fields, and then when you add text, you're not adding it to a blank text area like this, you're adding it to that specific field. And then you're organizing these into specific records, so it allows you to manually construct a record for each piece of the document you want to build. So for example, say we want to turn all these into records in our schema, we first need to define some properties that these data pieces are going to go into. So I'm going to hit the plus button here. I'm going to give the name of the property. So the first piece of data here would be the dates, right? So I'm going to add the dates. And then the second piece of property here is title. So I'll add title. And then I'll add the non-English title. This we'll explain later. Then I would add the country and the year. And then the description. And then in Pomodoro, you can also save clippets of the actual PDF itself. So I want to save an image of this little image here. I'm going to add another property called image. For each one of these properties, you can remove it, and then you can designate it as a binary image or as an image property, and you can add regular expressions that will filter the data as it's coming into your field. So for example, for this image property I just added, I just simply check this off to say that it's going to be an image, and then when you select it, it will turn into an image, and that will make more sense in a second. There's other options here, so you can also rearrange your other fields into a different order if you want them to be in a different order. You can automatically make sure that when you add a property, it moves down to the next property, and you can automatically say when you add a new record, just start at the top of the property list. And you can also hide this and collapse it if you want. So once you have your properties defined, you can go through and pick which one you want to populate from the document. For example, I'm going to populate the date first, so I'm going to highlight the date elements here and hit enter, and that populates into this field. There's actually two dates for here, so I'll just highlight both of the next one and add it and see it as two separate values. So the next one is title, so I'm using the up and down keys, or you can click on it to move to the next property. And here's the title, here's the country, here's the non-English title, here is the year, And here is, so I accidentally put that into the wrong one. So when you delete something from here and it's empty, it will just remove it completely. So for the year, I'll highlight that again. And you can also click clear green selected text, and that will reset that if you wanted to keep track. And then the description. So the other option you can do here is add a regular expression to filter the text through as it's coming into the property. An example for this one, there's like a little bit of OCR error where it's adding these extra spaces around periods. What you could do is delete this and then go up to the description and add a regular expression. And it's going to ask for the regular expression pattern. And so in this case, we're going to say the pattern is going to be, there's going to be a space, so \s. There's going to be the character period, and period is a special character in regular expression, so you have to say \/ first. And then there's going to be another space. So whenever it sees a space, period, space, it's going to match this pattern. And it's going to say, should it be global? That means match on all the text in that field, and say okay. Should it be case insensitive? Sure. And then what do we want to replace it with? In this case, we want to replace it with just a period and then a space. And notice this is just the actual text, it's not a regular expression. And so every time it sees a space, period, space, it's going to replace it with a period, space. So let's see if that works. So I'm going to reset this screen here, highlight this description text again, and hit enter, and it's going to populate. And it fixed some of these. It didn't fix this last one because there was no space after it. But you could write another regular expression that fixes that. So in this way, these are cumulative, so you can add them and they pass through one another after another. So you could clean up the text by adding a number of regular expressions to filter through it. And of course, you can manually come in here and fix stuff as well if you wanted to. So the last piece here is this image property. And so when you are adding image property, it stores not as text, but it stores it as a binary image of the PDF as it looks there. So instead of highlighting text, I'm going to highlight this image here. And when I release it, it's going to put that image here as a little snippet of the PDF. What that's doing is saving a piece of the PDF into this JSON structure just as the image. So it will see how it looks in the end, but it basically encodes the image as a base64 string and puts it into the JSON file for you to use later. So I've added all the data for this one. If I wanted to move on to the next one, I'd hit the add record button and then start over and do the next one. So go through the dates, etc., title, etc. So these options here, auto next. So say for example, after I do the country and hit enter, it's going to automatically move the property down to the next one. So I don't need to necessarily do each one, move the properties each one. I know it's going to advance for each one. And then for the auto reset, when I add a new record, it will automatically move the property back up to date, so you don't have to move all the way up to the top each time. So once you're happy with that, and you can navigate through these, of course, using these arrow buttons. Once you're happy with that, you can download all of the data, and it will download it. And then this will look something like this, where it is basically a JSON file with each record split up into one of the elements in the array. And here you can see the image is turned into basically a base64 data URL. So it's storing everything as an array because you can have multiple ones, the state, but you're basically saving all this data into a big JSON array. If you say you got halfway through this and you came back later, if you refresh the page, you'll lose the schema you defined and the data you defined, but you'll see that this pops up and it'll say, do you want to restore from the previous session? And so that's the session we were just working in. If you hit yes, it will restore all of your schema and your existing records. So you won't lose any data. And this is also nice if you have a bunch of documents that have the same schema. You can always just restore the schema and then remove the records for the last document and start adding a new document for the new document. So that's pretty much it. The only other thing is if you have a PDF document that you upload, what the Pomodoro will do will split that PDF up into multiple pages and then present you with an interface like this, where you can see that each page of the PDF has been broken into an individual item. And so then, of course, you just move between them to work on them like this. And you can pick on the next page. And if you're in JSON mode, then your data will persist between the pages and you just can add to the next one. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Bye.